Hey everybody, welcome to the Dice Matrix today. Today we're going to be taking a look at a pretty interesting game called Starship. If I can get the direction right on here, let's go with this. Starship Samurai. All right, let's just take a look at it. Welcome to Starship Samurai. Here's just a quick overview of the game. On setup, you're going to take as many player boards, planets, as there are a number of players, and then you're going to sort the planet decks into the rulebook decides how many players, how many cards you use. You're going to flip those cards over into these big long areas here, which will have rewards on them if you dominate the area. Each player will choose a color, and they'll grab their colored ships that go with them. They're going to get a carrier, and I believe it's 8 fighters. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, and then everybody's going to draft 2 samurai. So they're going to have a stack of samurai. And the first player, denoted by the first player token, will select the samurai from the 8 samurai available, and then they'll pass it, and the next person will draft one. And instead of going back around in a full circle, it'll come back. So in a 2-player game, the first person will draft a samurai, the second person will draft 2, and then it'll come back to the first person. They'll draft their last one. So until each person has 2 samurai. And so in this case, the samurai go under where it says samurai units. And then as a reminder of what your things do, that your ships and carriers, you have a ship card and a carrier card for each of the players. Now, just to kind of give you, I'm not going to read every little ability, but in the top left of your ships, fighters, and everything that goes on an area, like this is the most powerful card in the game, Masumuni, or however you say his name here. He's worth 6 power. He doesn't really have any special ability, and you have to spend wealth to move him around. So it says whenever you move this guy, you must spend 1 wealth, which is this stuff here. A lot of things in the game use wealth to play, especially out of this little action order deck, as they call it there. So to do things, you need money. And I'll show you something else you can do with that in a second. But we're just following setup right now. So you set up your planets, you set up your boards, you put them all in your supply. Once you draft your samurai, you put them here, you put your reminder cards of what they do. Then you set up your alliance, the allegiance track board. These are different allegiances, alliances, and clans within the universe of the star system, and you're trying to push up influences up your color track here. So there's red and green are the 2 players playing this. So anytime that you can move one of the symbols indicated, like over here, if you dominate an area, it'll show you on this card. Let's see if I can do a little zoom up there for you. Like right here, it'll say, if you win this, you get to move a symbol up 1 spot, which is this symbol. And if I was red and I dominated the area, I'd move it from the neutral area on the track to the first spot. As the game goes on, and you can continue to do this, when you get to the end of everybody's move, then you would be able to score wherever it's at. Like this, is right next to the 3 honor, so you'd gain 3 honor, and the game rotates points around the board for honor. Okay, so continuing setup, you shuffle your action order deck, you've got your planets out, you selected these boards here, you set up the alliances and all the different factions here, the 8 different factions, and you put your tracking your honor for your team of who wants to go in that order. So you got your wealth by the board, the first player, and then each player gets 2 starting cards. You get these in your hand that can do different things. And there's 2 different kinds. You get, both of these are battle. This one adds 3 power when you play it. And this one here is a battle card that says change of strategy. So this is one that either you're definitely going to win, or you're definitely probably not going to win, because it says gain 1 wealth or draw 1 action card. But you get to place this back into your hand if you use it in that way. So that's a good way to have your game set up on that. So the whole meat of the game is set up around these. Let's see if I can get down here and get a little good view for you. Maybe just a little bit of a zoom. So anyway, on your turn, let's say this player was first player. He would choose one of his numbers 1 through 4 and then give it an order. Now there's 4 orders you can do. You can either move allegiance, you can draw cards, you can move units, or you can gain wealth. So one of the number 1 things you do in this game is moving units. So let's say I'm going to put my 3 there for my first turn. So let's just kind of pull back up a little bit. And so what can I do with that? So that means I can do 3 movements. So let's say I want to move this guy on the board. I'd put him in any area up here. But to move him, I actually have to spend a wealth because he's expensive to move. That's part of his thing, but he's got 6 power. So that's 1 move. For my second move, I can move my carrier. So let's say I want to move him to the same system, but the carrier has a nice special ability right here that says, Sorry guys, I'm bumping my camera around today. So that you can also move 2 ships you control that share an area with the carrier, so up to. So you can move them by yourself, but heck, why not? So you're going to throw 2 fighters, it doesn't matter where. So now you got a bunch of spots there where you've got that. So if you add up the power in this area here, you've got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's like, wow, okay. So that's 1 move for this, 1 move for that to bring those in. And I also have a 3rd move, so I could either try to bring in my other samurai and I could put it on the other board, or I can just bring in a fighter randomly. Maybe I'll put it on that board or this one over here, okay? And that's your move 3. So let's say this guy over here on this turn says, you know what? I'm going to use 2, basically just to draw 2 cards. So they'll go over to the deck over here, and they'll draw 2 cards from the top of the deck. And they'll add them to their hand. Anytime that somebody has more than 5 cards, they immediately get rid of it. These are both order cards. You can only play 1 order here, but on your turn, before or after your main order, you can play an action card order, 1 only, never before and after, but either or to influence something. And they have different abilities. Like this one lets you, it costs you 3 wealth to spend, and it says move up to 6 units you control. So you could do a move of 6 on the board, which is pretty awesome. So we'd come back to the first player, and the interesting thing about this is the first thing you do on the round is if you check the area that you have control under. Well, I have the most power here and here, so I'm going to gain both of these rewards. This one I'm going to move this blue one up 2 up my track, so I am green, so I'll move this from the neutral area 1, 2 spots. But let's say it was over on my opponent's area, I'd move it back to the neutral first and go 1, 2, so it's here. And it also says that I can move 1 anything that I want. So let's say I just choose to move it again. Now I also dominate this area, so I can move the green one 2 spots. So it goes from neutral 1 to 2, so they're both here. And then I go and take my next order, and let's say I want to put 4 on move allegiance. Maybe I'm going to grab some random one. I'm going to move this up 1, 2, 3, 4 spots, and I move that up there. Okay, and then my opponent, he decides to, do something over here. Let's just say they want to move some units onto the board as well. So they use their 4, and they're going to move some guys, a samurai, another samurai, a carrier, carry 2 ships with it. So that's 3. And for the 4th move, he's going to put another ship here. And that's only 1 empty spot left over here, like in the very corner here. But now they have that area dominated, so I can no longer gain that reward. So like if it goes to my turn, it's like, okay, what am I going to do? Well, you know what? First thing you do is you'd gain your rewards. So I dominate this area, but not that area anymore. So I'd move this 1 blue one up to where it was, 1 more higher. And then I would move 1 random one up. So let's say maybe I'll just grab a new one and put it up there. So now I have a 1 and a 2 left on order. And let's say I want to gain wealth. It's expensive to move that guy around. So let's put the 2 there. So now I gain 2 wealth. Now, what can you do with wealth? Well, you can use it to spend cards to play other orders, but you can also do what they call free actions. In this game, you can take as many free actions as you want before or after your main order. And one of them, which is really good, under your fighters, which tells you under your fighter card that you can basically stack your wealth underneath these ships here, and it will increase the power by 1 for each one that you do. So let's say I put 1 under this one and 1 under this one, or I could put them both under the same one. Now this ship has a power of 3. So now that increases the power there, which is pretty cool. So you can take as many free actions as it says, unless otherwise stated. And then my player over here, he might go, you know what? I'm also going to gain some wealth. They grab 3 money, and maybe they can play an order card with it. Let's say they wanted to play this order card here. It would cost 1 wealth. They put it down, and they put defensive shield somewhere. So they put it over at this one. And then it has an effect on the card. It says, attaches to a location. Units cannot be destroyed at this location. Only units with 3 or more power can move to this location. It says at the end of a player's turn, you can discard 2 of these action cards like this to basically get rid of this card. So they're going to put this at this location, and now this has orbital shields on it for this turn. So now you get back to this last turn. They would have gained, they had dominance, so they would have gained the reward there, which is 1. So they'll move this back down 1, 2 actually, to the neutral area. So that's really nice. And now for the last one, he'll put his somewhere. Say, oh, you know what? I didn't use this one. We'll do this to draw one card. And then red will go. Red dominates that top area. Again, of course, I would have got the reward for that. And so that you would move the allegiance tracks thusly. And then on the last one, you don't actually have to. There's no particular order, but you could, let's say you could have saved this one here. Well, you can also use something you've already done again. Like you can go, you know what? I'm going to spend 400 move units. So you're like, what? That seems crazy, right? So what you can do is you can go to the board now and you can say, I'm going to prepare for battle because I really want this. So I'm going to move 1, 2, and carry my 2 fighters with me. Now I still have 2 more moves left, but there's not really a spot on this board to put anything, but you can move a samurai onto a jam board. And if you do that, you have to destroy a fighter, even if it's yours, but whatever the lowest ranked one is. So there's a ship, the lowest ranking ship. So there's 3 ships here, 2 red and 1 green that are power level 1, but why would I destroy mine? I'll just destroy their ship, and now my samurai's here. So now we might have a pretty good fight when we come to battle. This goes to the right, off to the side of your graveyard. And so like the battle here, you're looking at, 6, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 versus, what do we got here? 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So that's going to be an interesting battle when we resolve that in the battle phase coming up. Another thing that you could have done, and they still had another move if they wanted to move another fighter out, I think they had some left over, is you can spend your wealth. This person could have spent their wealth to add it to something. So not only can you choose the same thing, but you can also bump something like, let's say you had a 4 here and you had a couple of wealth, well, you can turn this into a 6. So now you're going to move one marker up 6 spots towards your direction or away from your opponent's direction and towards your direction. Or you could draw that many cards, but then you'd have to, of course, discard down to 5 cards. But you can also use wealth to bump stuff. So once you've done, everybody's taken their turn and played all their orders, then you will go to like the battle phase. And you resolve them in order. Look at the top one. At the top one up here, it says that we have a power of 2 versus a power of 1. And you have to either choose, each person will choose to commit a battle card or not commit a battle card. Then they'll reveal them and resolve it. Let's say for some reason green won this. I would get to keep the winner has to remove their pieces from the board. And they would also collect this card because they will get some bonus points at the end if they have any pips on the card. And then they will get the reward one more time, and they'll gain 5 glory. So they would get to move this green marker 2 spaces, which is, it's back over here now. And who was at that 1? Green. So we get to move that back 1, 2 spaces up here. And then green would gain 5 glory. And then we would go to the next battle. So we got green has 15 power, and they have 14 power. Let's see what kind of cards we can play here. Let's say, starting with the first player they reveal, but it's all the same. But she has a special ability. If she was in this battle, she can make the opponent reveal their cards first before you commit to your card. But they're going to go ahead and bump this up to 3. The other person doesn't play a card. So that would make green winning in this scenario. So green is just killing it everywhere. So red would get to keep all their units in play, but green would remove all theirs, and including the wealth tokens. And so they're all off of play. They will get this reward again, which is moving, they're just going to move this down out of play, and they're going to move this one towards them, reduce that 1 spot. Oh, excuse me, that's green that won, so that actually go up. I'm sorry, I'm not even looking at my colors. Okay, so instead they would bump up in value. So green will bump this, and then green will get another 5 honor, so they're at 10. I must really like green today, just to my quick explanation here. And then you would go to the alliance board for the last thing, and you would add up any bonuses off of this. And so you look straight across here. So this is at the 2nd level, so that's 1 glory. There's 1 alliance here, 2 glory, and there's 2 here at 3. That's 6. That's 6, 7, 8, 9. So boom, 19 honor. I kept calling it glory. I've been playing too many Vikings games. But basically, you do that. You repeat until you can't. You play enough rounds, usually about 3 or 4, depending on the number of players. I think in a 2-player game, it recommends 6, but it's kind of long. I've shortened it myself when I play 2 players to 4 rounds. But it's a fantastic, easy, smooth, fun game. And this is pretty much the basic gist of the whole thing. All right, so my review for this great game, Starship Samurai. I'm going to have to give it an award, and I don't have any fancy digital sills or anything to give, but I'm going to call it the Super Fun Award because this game is super fun, and I recommend that everybody at least try it. It has a nice bit of area control, but it's not as heavy as like a Blood Rage or anything. It's like right in the middle weight, easy for anyone to pick up. And if you love the old feel of the, almost like the 80s cartoons where the huge mechs are fighting against each other, pushing for territories, and you play the surprise cards, and it can just really be upending. I mean, there's plenty of strategy, but at the same time, it doesn't take itself too seriously, and it does everything that I want it to do in a game, and I just have a good time playing it. I highly recommend Starship Samurai Super Fun Award. You heard it here on the Dice Matrix.